Deebo Samuel, heck of a player, could go for 1,500 yards next year. Is that the kind of guy that you would want to give a second contract to?
I would be hesitant to give any receiver a second contract.
Me too.
I think that the way the game is now, it lends itself to receivers having great years, having a lot of success. I think it's easier than ever for receivers to have success. There's more talent at the receiver position than ever. I mean, back in the day, if you were a super talented kid, you'd want to play running back. Now it's play receiver. So it's flooded with talent. You can see it. You're starting to see it in the draft every year. How many
year?
Yeah, right.
Every year, so the best year of wide receivers ever. And it is like there's dudes in the third round who are studs as rookies.
Look at the Senior Bowl. There's the Senior Bowl practice going on now. Like, look at how many receivers are cutting it up now.
Yep.
There's so much receiver talent out there. Why do you want to pay for that? Especially when all these receivers
very expensive too. Very
the rules lend itself to receivers, so it's easier than ever to play wide receiver. I think especially if you get yourself a quarterback, we talked about a little bit earlier that the quarterback should be able to help you create wide receivers. So if you have a premium quarterback, if Matt Stafford's the real deal, you should be able to draft wide receivers, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this receiver is awesome. And
that's what the Steelers do.
Yeah, like, if I was Kyle Shanahan this year, I would devise game plans around. I would get Deebo 1,500 yards and have and then I would try to get a first round pick for him, and then I would get another wide receiver.
Right. I saw a mock draft today by a guy I follow on Twitter who had the Niners taking Kadarius Toney at pick 46. I was like, yeah, it's about right. That's about the spot you take a wide receiver. Yeah, he would fit the Niners offense perfectly. The Niners have other needs, but that's exactly the range and how you do it, pretty much.
Right. I mean, were the Vikings that off? They took an awesome receiver, and they traded Stephon Diggs. Now they have the same production, but it's a lot cheaper.
Right, and I'm guessing that Diggs is also cheaper for the Bills than he would have been for the Vikings because of that prorated bonus. So it's a smart move for the Bills too. Right. Honestly, that trade for Diggs was one of the best moves of the year for any team.
It was one of those moves where it was best. It was really good for both sides. And
yes, it was.
You don't really get that a lot. There's not really times you normally see a trade and you're like, wow, that team fleeced them.
Final point I want to make real quick as we're going here, like I'm with you. The devaluation of wide receivers. Do what Pittsburgh does. Draft them in round 2, round 3, and then let them go. But the interesting thing is, I don't think you necessarily have to do that with tight ends. I don't know if you would disagree with me on that. Part of the reason I don't like giving a wide receiver a second contract, it's really expensive. Kittle, he's like 7% of the cap, and he's the highest paid tight end of all time. They're not too expensive. For whatever reason, they're like, there's collusion. And tight ends are like second-class citizens or something, so they don't get paid as much. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, unless in a couple of years, it might take some time for the market to bear itself out. But for now, yeah, tight ends are super cheap. They can get you all the stats that a wide receiver can, and you don't have to pay them as much, and they can help you in the run game. Yeah, like I saw your discussion about Kyle Pitts. I mean, a lot of that's valid. Those are valid points. The only thing I would say, I just think the Niners are kind of stacked at skill position. That's why I would go Kyle Pitts. If I was in that, if the Niners were in that position and Kyle Pitts was available, I would be calling all the GMs and be like, "What can I do to move back? What can I do to move?" I agree.
Yeah, because the strength of the Niners' offense is their skill positions. That's why Stafford would be intrigued, along with Kyle Shanahan's presence on the team. It's not the offensive line.
No, I mean, even Richie James, like, we don't talk about him that much, but how good is he when you actually get him the ball?
That's true.
I know Dwelly is your boy, but he doesn't drop. He doesn't drop the ball. Like, he really
honestly is finding an upgrade over Ross Dwelly on the number one thing the Niners have to do. No, is finding an upgrade over Richie James Jr. at number 3 receiver the number one thing the Niners need to do? No, it's not.
The Niners should not draft a receiver this year unless it's like beyond the fourth round. It needs to be 4th round or less. That's when they should be drafting a receiver.